So it's a dark, stormy, rainy night here in Northern California. I think it's as good of a time as any to check out Robert Eggers' latest movie, Nosferatu. And yes, this is a remake of the silent movie that came out 102 years ago. Let me tell you this one, this was way up there in terms of my most hyped of 2024, simply because Robert Eggers' name was written all over this. And now I finally had a chance to sit through and watch it, and I'm stunned. I am stunned. So this is set in the 1830s in Germany, where real estate agent Thomas Hutter, played by Nicholas Hoult, travels to Transylvania for a fateful meeting with Count Orlok, who I'm not going to reveal who plays him until I talk about him. Count Orlok, funny enough, is a prospective client. And in Thomas's absence, his new bride Ellen, played by Lily Rose Depp, is left under the care of her friends Friedrich and Anna Harding. And Ellen is plagued by horrific visions and an increasing sense of dread, and she soon encounters an evil force that's far beyond her control. Now, I'm not going to dig too deep into spoilers just in case you haven't seen this movie yet, and just in case you were just as hyped to see this movie as I was, I'm not going to ruin the experience for you watching it for the first time in the theater. Because honestly, Nosferatu is begging to be seen in a theater. And I feel like it absolutely should, and it absolutely deserves it. You cannot sit there and tell me that Robert Eggers, this man, he was not sitting in the shoot with a big smile on his face. Like, look at these shots. Look at this cinematography. Listen to this musical score. Look at the perfection in this editing. There is no way that Robert Eggers was not the happiest man alive on set. And he said in interviews, Robert Eggers has said that he's wanted to do a remake of Nosferatu for years. And with his finesse and with his control behind the camera, we may have just gotten one of the greatest remakes in modern cinematic history. I'm serious. This is a movie, Nosferatu, that stands on its own without even needing to go and see the original from 1922. It's a very, very short, condensed version of what we get here. You get 2 hours and 13 minutes of just unsettling nature. If there's one thing that Robert Eggers does extremely well in all of his movies so far, it's creating this atmosphere of dread. Don't believe me? Look back at his entire filmography so far, and I own every single one of them. This is his debut feature, The Witch. Lots of really cool facets about this movie, but a lot of things didn't exactly hit the mark for me. And then you have this masterpiece, The Lighthouse, where I feel like Robert Eggers really found his niche, and he really found his footing as a director, and it's also anchored by two incredibly great leading performances, no pun intended. And then there was this movie that came out, The Northman, which wasn't my personal favorite of his, but it's a really nice revenge epic. In terms of pure horror movies, Nosferatu is right up there with the best of them. And we have gotten a plethora of horror movies, especially over this past decade or so, more than that. And I can only name maybe 2 or 3 off the top of my head that really unsettled me in the past decade. You have The Babadook, directed by Jennifer Kent. You have Hereditary, directed by Ari Aster. And now I think you can add Nosferatu, written and directed by Robert Eggers, to that list. This movie has some imagery that really got me, guys. And listen, I get it. Fear is subjective. A lot of people might look at Nosferatu and they might think it's stupid. I had some idiots who were sitting in the back of my auditorium who were laughing their asses off in sequences where they probably shouldn't have been. And it wasn't like uncomfortable laughter, like they were enjoying how unsettled they were. No, they just thought it was stupid. And I've already seen some people saying that Nosferatu is bland and that it's boring. Nosferatu may be a lot of things, but boring ain't one of them. This is one of those cinematic experiences where I was just hooked into every single part of the story. Hook, line, and sinker. And obviously a good chunk of that has to do with Robert Eggers and his writing and his way of storytelling and his direction, how he presents this material. But he had to have a strong cast of leading players to really bring this story to life. And thank God he has a rock-solid cast here. Nicholas Hoult, this might be the best I've actually ever seen Nicholas Hoult. And Nicholas Hoult almost has this type, I've noticed. He's almost this naive, bright-eyed young man who seems to be caught in the middle of everything. And he plays that part incredibly well. Nicholas Hoult, I feel like, is an actor who knows his type and he goes for it. But then he's also an actor who's willing to challenge himself. I can't wait to see what he does as Lex Luthor in Superman in July. But I feel like he's one of those rare commodities in Hollywood right now that knows to play to his strengths. And this is absolutely a role that does that for him. Lily Rose Depp. What a freaking performance this was. This is the daughter of the great Johnny Depp, and man, she has a bright future, and I feel like she takes after her father incredibly well. There were so many times where I was looking into her eyes, and I don't exactly know what she was thinking. And especially in horror, that kind of acting is the stuff of legend. I cannot wait to see what she does next. Speaking of legend, Willem Dafoe in this movie was phenomenal. A frequent collaborator with Robert Eggers, he really understands how to pick his projects, especially lately. And even though Dafoe is not in the movie for super long, he pops up maybe a little more than halfway through, he still eats up every frame he gets, and he's so much fun to watch. Speaking of fun to watch, you also have Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who has a very troubled arc in this movie. And let's just say, especially with Kraven the Hunter coming out a couple weeks ago, thank God Aaron Taylor-Johnson has this performance to his credit and this movie to his credit. I think despite the failure of Kraven the Hunter, I think Aaron Taylor-Johnson, especially with a performance like this, he's going to be just fine. And speaking of just fine, let's talk about Count Orlok himself, the curse of Nosferatu, the cause of it. This man is played by Bill Skarsgård, the one and only Pennywise. This man is unrecognizable. The accent that he gets and the inflections of his voice, his posture every time you see him, and his intimidating look in his eyes. There are some sequences involving Bill Skarsgård that I am never going to forget. And this man was so damn good that the Academy is just going to overlook this performance and they're not going to nominate him for Best Supporting Actor, even though they 1000% should. But I feel like this is a performance that's beyond the Oscars. It's not that Bill Skarsgård necessarily needs the vindication of the Academy and the recognition of the Academy to tell him how great of a job he did. It's honestly one of my favorite supporting performances I've seen from an actor all year long. I'm serious. If you thought Bill Skarsgård was scary as Pennywise, think again. Pennywise you could laugh at. Pennywise you could have fun with. You did not want this guy hiding under your bed at all. At all. So in case you couldn't tell, I really f***ing loved Nosferatu. Robert Eggers, I think, has really hit another home run here. He's come out with 4 big movies as writer/director, and I feel like he's hit a grand slam every single time. The cast he's assembled is phenomenal across the board. The writing is on point. The score is just so foreboding. The atmosphere he creates is just so freaking great. I feel like if you're a movie fan in general, not just of scary movies, but of movies in general, you are doing yourself a disservice if you miss Nosferatu in theaters. It's absolutely one of my favorite movies of the entire year so far. Now, some people might say that the ending is a bit polarizing because there's a bit of an exposition dump where they kind of have to explain the ending away. And yeah, I definitely understand that. But listen, I feel like everything else right before that ending and right before that exposition dump, it's just so damn good that I didn't even care. This is one of the movies of the holiday season. It's one of the movies of the year. And I think this is one of the greatest remakes, if not the greatest remake that ever was. I'm going to give Nosferatu an A+. Yeah, if you like scary, bonkers shit, go see this. Go see this. Let me know what you think of Nosferatu down in the comments section below. Do you guys have any memories of watching the silent movie from the 20s? And what are some of your favorite horror movies? What's your favorite Robert Eggers movie that you've seen? I love getting in front of this camera, and I love talking all things movies with you guys. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and tap on that thumbs up as well. But guys, what a way to freaking close out 2024. There's one more big movie that I need to catch in theaters before I feel comfortable doing a top 20 movies of the year and top 10 worst of the year. Expect those videos around New Year's time. And thank you so much again for continuing to support this channel. Y'all really are the greatest. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.